see is as we do get into pick and ban, but already those stretches are stretching into new bans, as it's going to be the Lilia taken off the board, Zoe as well banned away against Mole. Nothing too surprising here. I'm curious to see now if we still go back towards the likes of the Pantheon ban, or sorry, not the Pantheon bans, the Nidalee bans, the Olaf bans that we have seen so far in the series. But it looks like they're kind of going, hey, look, let's try and leave open the Renekton for ourselves here. We can go Renekton Nidalee here for RNG, or at least try and force V5 to take it away, and they do off that ban.
So the Gnar is available, the Nidalee is available, there's Talia as well. A few of these priority picks still up for grabs. Also, you could go for something like an AD carry if you want to play it safe and not give anything away. That Olaf, we talked about it being a potential ban. It's been incredibly high priority while it's available, with Lilia taken off the board as well. Feels like the Viking could see his day here for RNG.
Yeah, it will be a different kind of style though, because honestly, when I look at RNG, there's not a huge amount of those top laners that, you know, you can look for these early dives still available. So I imagine that what we're going to see instead is RNG shift their attention down towards these dragons and trying to solidify that as their objective. However, when we look over on V5 side, they're pretty happy with the way Y4 went on this Misfortune, and I like it. I mean, Misfortune doesn't really have any bad matchups against the more meta AD carries, so pick that up, and then we can start to look towards, you know, counter picks in the mid lane, in the top side of the map, when we get into the second rotation. I think we'll see Leona again here for Ppgod. I just love Misfortune Leona. It's such a strong duo, and really causes issues for a lot of those bot lane plays.
We are going to see the Graves for Weiwei. This is what we talked about in the second draft. This is his most played jungler so far, the split. And even though it has a negative win rate in the LPL in general, Weiwei still has a positive win rate with it. But over on the side of RNG, Gala gets his Aphelios. This is one of his most comfortable hit. This and the Xayah have been his two go-tos, and Ming on the Thresh to be able to keep him safe there.
I feel like we're going to see a very split map here. When we look at objective-wise, like, you can't. The problem that is with Aphelios is that you can't really get out of lane to go towards these early Rift Heralds. So certainly V5 can look to make these early plays towards Rift Heralds, and I expect them here to take some sort of weak side top laner here. It's going to be the Gragas to make sure that, hey, look, you're going to be fine, but can still have a heavy impact in these early skirmishes and not give away too many advantages. So I'm liking this opportunity here from V5, or at least the game plan here from V5, where they are going towards more of this early to mid game team fighting style.
I love the respect ban on the Orianna every single game. I mean, Xiaohu is known for his Orianna. This is a pick that he can take over the game on, but it does remove a lot of the flexibility from the RNG draft as well, because it can be flexed towards the mid lane for Cryin. Now over to RNG. What do you expect them to be banning?
I imagine that they're going to go towards mid laners. There's still a few up for Mole here, like the Akali. He's been incredibly strong on the likes. You're not going to see like the Lucian come in without the AP or jungler, but certainly the Syndra band away. Zoe's gone as well off that first rotation. So you're seeing like, I think here you just get rid of the Akali as well. And now you're starting to look towards the likes of Victor, and these kind of things have been the meta mid laners. But honestly, they're not the strongest picks for Mole, and certainly don't give a huge amount of presence from that mid lane that you can play through as Weiwei.
Look, all I'm saying is Mole's going to pick Nico. That's all I'm saying. You know, he's played a lot of Nico.
The Nico
over
man.
the years. Nico's that lane bully that he loves to play. Yone also available, but with an AD jungler, with an AD carry as well, Yone becomes a little bit more difficult to lock in. Let's see where RNG go. It's the Leona as their final ban. You could quite happily just go with something like an Alistair, for example, just to set up with this Misfortune on the bottom side.
I think you take the mid laner here. I mean, I'm scratching my brain here to be like, what the hell do you actually pick on RNG side? I mean, you've gotten rid of pretty much all the meta AD carries. There is only the Victor, but that doesn't really work too well. But it looks like they're going to go over towards the Twisted Fate. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Twisted Fate into Ryze. I think Ryze does such a good job of shoving out these waves. It's very difficult for Cryin to get these early roams off. And okay, Xiaohu, we now know where that Twisted Fate is going to be playing towards as we get the Akali locked in for Xiaohu in the top lane.
There it is. He gets his AP carry on the top side of the map. You can see where Wei is going to be playing with the weak side of Aphelios there, with the Twisted Fate, with an Akali as the carry to set it all up for. But we do have a similar amount of roam potential in that mid lane with the Ryze. Realm Warp will be available. Mole has looked good on Ryze in the past, so I think we're going to have some scraps on our hands here, Dagda.
We are, but I'm looking at RNG's comp. I was excited about the Akali because it's Akali for Xiaohu, but then I kind of stopped for a second. I was like, where's the front line? Like, where's the setup for this Aphelios? You're heavily reliant now on RNG is like trying to play through these side lanes, but if you fall behind as RNG, it's very easy for V5 to get a huge amount of pressure and actually look to take these team fights. Their team fight is far stronger than the RNG side, so I'm a little bit wary. And when you don't have like a strong bot lane you can play through, you're not really having the opportunities this Olaf to get in and evade and start to have that support, it can get a little bit messy. So I think RNG really need to get this ball rolling early in the or at least stop that snowball rolling ahead from V5 if they want to have any hope of contesting V5's team fight in the mid game.
So am I right in thinking that what you're saying there, Dagda, is that V5, despite their reputation, don't necessarily have to play a super fast early game? They're actually okay to chill in the early game and look for team fights later on.
Well, I'd actually like them to play a bit faster. I'd like to see them like unlock Mole on this rise, have them do the Realm Warp top, try and even, if they can, beat the Twisted Fate to these top lane plays, and just try and set this Akali behind, because Akali behind doesn't really do very much, but as well, like, you have a super strong opportunity to like team fight for these early dragons if you want to off the level 6. Your Rift Herald is incredibly strong as well. So these are the like, certainly for those early Rift Heralds, these are the times that as V5 you should be looking to group and push the advantage that you have in this team fight and get all that gold that can start the snowball.
And just remember that this is a matchup that will decide who is third place in the standings. And to keep on the theme of those threes, it's game number 3 as we move in. We're talking about RNG having a fast-paced composition. They got to get Cryin out of this mid lane towards the top side to try and snowball Xiaohu. Cryin takes a bit of a chunk in the mid lane. But V5, they can try and match that pace. They can scale up, but they could also try and fight around that early game. I'm hoping so. I hope we get some more topside scraps, and I hope we get to see more out of Aodi, because of our last game, I'm suddenly real excited about Aodi in this top lane.
Definitely. Now, unfortunately, he's on the Gragas, so we're not going to get to see a huge amount from him. Has opted for the Comet, though, not going for the Grass, which is the more traditional one. So we actually, well, what I was about to say is, I think maybe with this Comet, he's definitely focused more on the lane, but could opt in towards going towards the likes of that, the Night Harvester build and going towards the more AP-focused Gragas. However, I would prefer to just go tank. Like, when I look at this game, it's like, look, realistically, Wei is going to have real struggles being the tank, because a lot of his tankiness comes from the need for the drain, from the Gore Drinker. You've got really long range on V5 that makes it very difficult for Wei to actually get value out of this Gore Drinker and get that big healing. So, honestly, I think you just go full tank.
Got a 2v2 on the bottom side. Obviously, Aphelios at level 1 when he's got the Severum and the Calibrum. Very, very good in these early trades, but you are against the Misfortune, so if she can bounce a Q or two, we'll be able to chunk out those health bars herself. And again, another Comet across the scoreboard, so Weiwei very much looking for that lane dominance, for the poke in the lane phase.
Well, I think as well, like, Weiwei and Ppgod are trying to maybe mess up this RNG bot lane a little bit. Look at where Wei is pathing, and he's very potent when it comes towards these, like, quick plays around the bot side. He loves going for this kind of 4 camp, 5 camp clear in towards a bot side play. So I like the way Ppgod and Weiwei are just trying to make them a little bit bloody, so then when Weiwei gets down here, they can try and make something happen. But for Wei, he's also matching this top to bot side clear. However, I expect Weiwei to go for full clear. Or sorry, Wei to go for full clear, then look towards the... I know, it's hard.
So many ways. And there's so many ways for the Wei and Weiwei to play the Wei.
But there is only one way that Wei can get the dragons, and that way is for him to get the first reset and then make his way towards that first dragon. Got me? Mm-hmm. Cool.
That's one way to do it. We'll see if Weiwei can find the way. As Gala trading once again in this bottom side, and you can see that Weiwei moving towards that first Scuttle Crab in the bot river. Wei still clearing his Krugs, and you would expect that V5 should be able to grab this one for themselves. It's possible that they could turn this into 2 as well, because Mole, although Mole's out of mana right now, won't be able to shove the next wave for free. Wei's moving into this bot lane deck there.
Yeah, I think this is more so to facilitate the shove in. I don't think he's actually going to be able to get very much off. Like, with how far back Weiwei and Ppgod are playing, the lane state, it's more to just stop Weiwei from having that gank that we talked about.
Weiwei forcing the flash out from Cryin here. He's going to force the recall as well. Cryin obviously has the teleport, but we questioned if he'd be able to get double scuttle. The answer is absolutely yes, and he gets a mid lane flash to boot. This is a beautiful little bit of path thing coming out from Weiwei to start the game off.
Oh, that hook.
It's a weird interaction between the hooks right there. Ppgod gets out. Titan's Wrath to shield all the damage as well. He's going to be fine.
However, this is a big amount of information that is coming over onto V5 side. So you end up getting like the double scuttle. You could see there as well that Weiwei was able to pop the blast cone or not the blast cone, the Scryer's Bloom to get information as to where Wei was as well. So from this point on, Weiwei should be able to track this Olaf reasonably well, match this clear back down towards the bot side. And I want to see now off this first recall if Y4 and Ppgod can prevent Wei from getting this early dragon, because that's where RNG can start to get some of their advantages rolling and stop V5 from just going for these big L team fights.
Well, towards the top side of the map here, you can see Aodi building this monumental wave to crash underneath the tower. Could be a good opportunity for him to get himself a recall off without any real negatives, be able to just walk back to lane, possibly not even have to use the teleport for himself. But the Drake coming up in 5 seconds here, Dagda. And let's bear in mind, there's an Olaf. Olaf's pretty good at taking these Drakes.
Yeah, which is why we've been highlighting it so far, is just to point out, look, you can go for this very early dragon. However, V5 are responding well. You've already got, like, Ppgod moving in to get this vision control down. They know that Ming and also Wei went into this area to try and get some vision, so they're just looking to clear it out and still use the fact that, you know, Mole has pressure mid, Y4 was able to reset first, so he has pressure bot, and prevent this from happening.
Mole can't believe his luck. He just got 2 control wards in one brush. Didn't have to do anything for it. Just walks in, 60 gold straight on a silver platter. RNG just giving him gold. They're so rich, they don't have to worry about it. 150 gold down the drain.
And this is the thing, like, we talked about the potential for V5 to make plays, but they don't really have to. Like, if you go into a mid-game on even footing, you're in the lead here as V5.
Oh, well, they don't want to go into even footing. The anchor doesn't quite land onto the wall. Ppgod will go down. He's damn tanky with the aftershock. Gala finally finishes the first blood, but you know what? Doesn't matter how fast the kill was. What matters is he got that 400 gold.
And beautiful from RNG. They get the kill, but this also gives them the pressure to go over towards that dragon, so they're going to be able to start this up now. And as well, you're just getting all these plays right off the level 6 for Cryin. So Cryin can get the reset now, and then as Wei starts the path towards top side, well, let's go make a play towards Xiaohu with no more objective on the bot side of the map.
Ooh. V5 want to contest this. They're going on the blast cone. Teleport coming through from Aodi. It's going to be matched, though, by Xiaohu. Dragon goes down. RNG want a little bit more. Y4 needs to be careful because Cryin is actually out of mana. Can't do much in this fight, so there's not really a mid laner there. Mole gets a root onto Ming. Flash out from Ppgod, but the anchor goes wide. And suddenly he's stuck in. Xiaohu gets onto Y4 in the back line, but all 5 members are strong here from V5. Xiaohu gets the kill and a lantern to safety. The Thresh Express, and he's got a first-class ticket.
And you hit the nail on the head there, Munch. Mole not having the mana to really do very much. And that was where I was like, look, if you're on RNG side, if you can find these opportunities to really get into a position where Mole isn't able to get as aggressive as he wants because he's trying to run down from this top side, it means that it doesn't matter if Cryin is out of a huge amount of mana. Instead, you're still able to win this fight. You just provide that CC as Cryin. And from that point, it's essentially a 4 versus 5. And this is what I've loved about RNG. You're going to see it here, where even though they're all flashing over the wall, they understand the weaknesses that are there on the opposing team. So when they're in this sort of situation, all you need to do is hold on to this choke point. Xiaohu is able to provide so much pressure towards the back line, and you can get that quick pick and get out thanks to that Shroud.
And I feel like if Y4 just stays with the team there instead of walking through the lane, maybe that could have been a different fight. Or if V5 just wait until Y4's level 6 before they fight. Like, this is a misfortune that was level 5, didn't have the ultimate available. And V5, after the Drake goes down, try and force the fight against RNG. Weiwei has made his way to the top side of the map, though. as Wei tries to answer. Ppgod playing bouncer right now. It's the Herald down to 2,000 HP. This is the bread and butter play for V5. They love these fights, but RNG, they want to take it this time. Bullet time across the team, but the V5 health bars are dropping. This is a bit chaotic as the jungler will fall. Couldn't quite finish off Mo, couldn't quite finish off Ppgod, but Xiaohu's here and he wants to clean this one up, but the hook from Ppgod denies everything. Xiaohu taken down with the double for Y4, and that should be the Herald.
And V5 bite back. What had just been a big win for RNG, they get over greedy. They try to go towards this Rift Herald, but honestly, V5, if they're able to group up properly as a 5v5, they're the stronger team right now. And unfortunately, RNG bought up more than they can chew, and it's the Rift Herald. It's also going to be the kills going across the V5 as well, and RNG setting themselves behind when it comes towards this mid game.
The weird thing about this game so far has been these fights are all after the objective goes down almost. That bullet time was massive from Y4.
It was. And this is why I was saying, like, these mid-game fights around the likes of Rift Herald are going to be where V5 can find these big advantages, because you're able to set up for these big bullet times. You're able to have these more front-to-back orientated team fights, and that's where V5 are going to shine. Whereas when you're trying to cause chaos as RNG, if you've got to group in through River and you're trying to move through these choke points, it's not as easy for you to spread out these fights, find these more chaotic brawls that allow for your composition to work.
Yeah, and I mean, that hook for Ppgod was... That's things that people dream about right there. Good effort from Aodi. Good effort. I like the... I like the thought behind it. Doesn't quite get the knockback under the tower, but if he gets it, that's a kill straight away onto the Aphelios. Valiant effort there. But yeah, the hook from Ppgod during that last skirmish denies Xiaohu's perfect execution. Oh, that's what you live to see. Ppgod looking pretty fantastic.
Well, we'll have to see if we'll still see that same kind of plays coming out from Aodi now, because we've got a minute until this dragon. This is going to be a big contention point, I feel like, for V5, who again are just looking to find these fights with the Y4's ultimate up, but Y4 just used his ultimate topside, so maybe they're not looking to fight at all, and RNG can just use this instead to pick up the dragon as Rift Herald pop topside.
Yeah, Twisted Fate goes in. Ppgod's the target here. He's not level 6, but he's got Aftershock, so he's going to be fairly tanky. Perfect execution, and Xiaohu grabs himself the kill. That's the pick that they wanted, but 40 seconds until Drake, so Ppgod will be able to join in if there's a Drake fight, and now Weiwei runs in on towards Wei. Look at top. Wait a second, why 4?
There's a Rift Herald. The Rift Herald was popped the entire time this play is going on. They picked up 2 towers for V5. They're now going to be able to recall and probably still contest onto this dragon, because Xiaohu has to go deal with this monster wave and was taken low off that play. So honestly, yeah, cool. You got a pick onto the support. You've now lost full control of your top side. You've lost control of this dragon, and V5 can again be in control. This was actually a really good play for V5.
And isn't it just so appropriate that Ppgod sacrifices himself for everyone else's sins there for the greater good of Y4 taking a tier 2? Yeah. Now towards the Drake. RNG got the first Drake of the game. We're only on 7 kills as we head towards the 12-minute mark, but that's not representative of the amount of fighting that we've had. Ming moving into the area, but look at this mid-priority that V5 are garnering for themselves so that they can move over to this Drake.
I'm actually really surprised to see the Kraken Slayer picked up for Y4 here. I would have preferred to see the Gale Force, both for the mobility, and you're going to have to try and deal with Xiaohu. Like, Xiaohu's going to be threatening your backline, and you want to burst out that Akali as quick as you possibly can. So I think in that respect, the Gale Force would have done a lot more for you, but and there's not like there's even like a big tank to work through. Yes, you've got better scaling in the Kraken Slayer.
Oh, he's got it! Wei's got the steal! That was nice. That was really good. And RNG, remember, that's one of the win conditions. Now they got 2 Drakes stacked up.
Yeah, and this is certainly just a case of, okay, maybe we can look to draw attention from V5 to these early dragons, or at least towards these dragons, and maybe get some picks, find these cool flanks for Xiaohu. But Wei does a nice job of just getting in there and stealing it away. So V5 don't get that fight, don't get the opportunity to use the fact that they are stronger in those straight up brawls right now.
So nicely done here by RNG. Look at the goal. We are almost even. It's 500, 600 in favor of RNG right now. I definitely agree on the Gale Force over Kraken Slayer, to be honest, for Y4, especially that mobility when you're against an Akali. It can, that can be the difference maker if you can dodge that perfect execution. It is difficult to do, but I want to mention as well that when we look at the mid laners, Cryin looking towards that Proto Belt, I'd assume is the first item here on the Twisted Fate, so he can find these picks. Mole will take a little bit of time. I think he's going for the Seraphs, as we saw from him previously. But he takes a while to really start hammering like you know the late game Rise will.
Yeah, and honestly, all that the game plan here from RNG is like, have Cryin off in a side lane. They just want to make sure that he's able to go for the split push, and then you can have Cryin try and join in for these 1-3-1, or at least like help out in a 1-3-1, or just join in to try and pick people off. But unfortunately for them, like why I'm so hesitant to say that this is going to be possible is just with the fact that V5 have a lead right now. They can actually look to take these fights, really put the pressure onto RNG, especially around this Rift Herald that's about to spawn in just under a minute. That's where V5 can look to really crack open this game. But if RNG want to, hey, look, let's just keep into this 1-3-1. Let's not try and contest these objectives and look to put more pressure by taking towers and gold and opening up the map state for ourselves.
Making a play on towards Xiaohu here. Mole's got in behind him. Weiwei now collapsing as well. Xiaohu doesn't realize, though, he's in a 2v1 right here. The Shroud stops the Rune Prison coming out. Very nicely done by Xiaohu to survive the pressure. We're getting towards that fateful 15-minute mark. You can see RNG going towards the Herald here. They will be able to grab this one for free. Importantly, RNG, they're ahead. 5 seconds until that 15-minute mark happens. RNG 100% win rate when they're ahead at 15, and they're ahead at the 15-minute mark.
But why do you do this as V5? Like, you do have a better 5v5 fight, so if you go towards Rift Herald, you win. If you don't get the fight, cool, use that Rift Herald to crack up mid, and you can then rotate bot lane anyway and still pick up this tower. Like, you had a very clear play as V5 as the way you want to do that, and instead, they invest way down towards this bottom side for a tower they could have gotten and more.
Yeah, so not ideal, really, for V5, but that is something that we've said about them in the past, is that when they fall off of the beaten track a little bit, sometimes the shot calling can be a little bit hit or miss. Sometimes they don't necessarily make all the correct calls, so we are seeing a little bit of that reminiscent in this early game, as we are actually really heading towards the mid game at this point. So for RNG then, we've talked about setting up picks. We've talked about how they wanted to be trying to play around the top lane in the early game. Well, we're past the early game now. Cryin's on this Twisted Fate. He's finished off that Rocket Belt. What's the next step for this squad? How do they find these picks instead of team fights against V5?
So you can see V5 are kind of reading this, but what RNG would like to do is, 1-3-1. You want to set up this play mid where Wei is going to crack open that mid lane turret with this Rift Herald, and then you can start to get this deep vision in and allow Xiaohu and Cryin to push up past this river. However, V5 are kind of expecting that, which is why we saw 4 of them all grouped around this mid lane. However, now that RNG have pushed out those waves, it can be a little bit easier for them to try and get this play mid, especially with the dragon in 50 seconds. V5 are all going to start to congregate down around this river, which leaves a vulnerable mid lane tower for that Rift Herald.
We're going to pop the Cryin up so that Aodi can't use it himself, as he's just going to have to settle for a Gromp. Can't push out to get the wave. Dragon up in 30 seconds. It looks like V5 are the ones that are looking for a pick right here. As Gala backing away in the mid lane. He'll be fine. This is where the misfortune comes into her own, though. This beefy front line of the Gragas and the Nautilus. If Y4 can get a big bullet time, he will shred through the squad of RNG. However, you got Xiaohu on the other side. He's 3-1 right now. This is a scary Akali. If he can get onto Y4, that's going to decide the fight.
I think RNG put down this Rift Herald too early, though. I would have preferred to see them give the dragon and guarantee this mid turret. However, they don't really guarantee this mid tower cracked open now. Although, as they move in towards river, maybe, but no. See, this is the problem. So now you put it down too early. Dragon wasn't up. Yes, you can get past this choke point in river. However,
bullet time across the whole team. Ppgod happy to be the front line, and the depth charge goes on to Cryin. Health bar's down to half for most of RNG, and you'd expect the V5 should be the favorite in a team fight here. The hook just goes wide from Ming, as the fight for vision is fierce here. Last dragon, Wei managed to steal it over the wall this time around. Here we go with the Destiny, trying to find a way into the fight for RNG. They're looking for a pick. They're looking for a misstep. Xiaohu is behind the fray, and he wants to get onto Y4, but takes a Kraken Slayer shot to the face, and that's the Dragon going down for V5. They get a kill as well as Ppgod locks up Xiaohu. Aodi goes in with the belly bop as well. Ppgod in the back of the pit flashes over to safety. V5 health bars are low, but nobody's going down just yet. Y4 can't get into the fray, and RNG, they've split the squad from V5. And together they are strong, but separated they are weak. They're taken down one by one, and RNG find more of the fight.
Gorgeous play from RNG. They realize, hang on, there's no misfortune ultimate. There's no ultimate on the Graves either. That's a lot of that damage that rips through the back of us. So we're able to regroup. Good job from Cryin as well. Watch this. Using the Destiny to give vision towards Xiaohu. Now Xiaohu knows where the value targets are. And as V5, they're all over the place. They don't know whether they're supposed to kite back. Are we trying to fight? Aodi is now split between both the front and the back of the fight, and there's nowhere safe for the carries on V5. So really smart job from RNG.
Oh, Cryin, though, is way too far up. TP's coming out from both sides. We're just in a chaotic battle now as Maul is forced out of the fight. And suddenly RNG once again have the numbers advantage. Wei's taken down. Xiaohu gets his, 19th kill of the game or something like that. At this point, he is absolutely huge. I nearly swore there.
Oh, that was a close one. I heard it. I heard a bubble on your lips there. But yeah, this is insane. RNG, 6 kills now for Xiaohu. And this is where I gotta come back towards, like, how do you execute your game plan here as V5? It's by getting these gold leads, front to back team fights, making sure that you're finding your leads. But instead, they end up not going for the likes of this Rift Herald, which gives them so much control over approaching these dragons, finding the right vision, make sure Xiaohu isn't coming in on flanks. And it means that RNG get the Rift Herald, they get into the river for free, and Xiaohu is able to find these flanks because of the lack of vision from V5. So honestly, V5 really need to make sure they're coming into these next fights with full vision control around the objective and stopping Xiaohu from getting access towards this backline and splitting up the fight.
I do want to mention that game number 1 was an incredibly fast win for, hang on, that's a 4-man Moonlight Vigil and a stopwatch to deny the bullet time as well. Beautifully done from Gala, and that should set up the fight beautifully here. Wei, though, goes too deep on the back of the play. Xiaohu's flanking, and Xiaohu is huge, has that ultimate available as he jumps through the entire squad, dashes under the tower onto Aodi as well, and it's just too easy for RNG.
Oh, this is insane. Even Aodi, he actually positions Xiaohu for an even better perfect execute because he gets 2 of them off of where the cast can position them. Now, RNG pushing down mid. They are firmly in control, and that snowball that we needed to see come out of RNG, well, it's sure happening right now.
Yeah, you might as well be playing Nunu at this point with how hard RNG are snowballing ahead. 3,000 gold in their favor, and bear in mind, that's only happened over the last couple of minutes, but Gala here sets it up beautifully. That stopwatch is everything.
Amazing. So well played from Gala. And this is the thing, like, yes, Gala doesn't get the attention on RNG. It's given to our Xiaohu, Cryin, Wei, but this guy is just secretly farming up this entire time. He looks so good when we get to these late game fights, especially in the likes of the Aphelioses and the Xayahs. And although, obviously, Xiaohu's going to end up taking MVP this game, I gotta say, every single game this series, Gala has been that second in command when it comes to MVP.
And RNG showing us that this is not a team that just got a couple of gimmicky wins. One of the things I've been saying about RNG recently is that when you look at their match history, they got a 2-0 over TT, they got a 2-0 over OMG. These are teams that you shouldn't be singing from the rooftops if you manage to beat. They're right at the bottom of the standings. They got a 2-1 over Suning as well. And I was skeptical of whether they would be able to pull this off against better teams, but they are showing us here today that they very much have this strength of strategy and strength of understanding when it comes to their compositions and their various playstyles.
Strength of schedule is the big one for me, though, because we're looking at like WE, BLG, but IG, like WE and IG, that's going to be another big round of tests for these. So it feels like they are really going through the trials right now to figure out, like, how good actually is RNG. However, right now, it's all thumbs up and all positive as they're going to pick Mole.
Mole is not going to be able to get his round walk because he was CC'd. Bullet time just barely tickles them at this point. I don't know how Y4 is doing so little damage for the Collector not paying off right now. That's a pick onto the mid laner. That's just going to be Baron.
Yeah, gorgeous play from RNG. There's nothing that you can do here as V5. They look like they might actually consider fighting. I'm not sure about this one, though. Look at where Xiaohu is positioned.
This is V5 we're talking about. Of course they're going to contest this one. 4v5 here. Oh, Aodi, that was cute. Does manage to pull Xiaohu into the team here. Can they survive? Can they stop this Akali from going ham? The answer's no. This stopwatch just does too much. V5 now back away. They stop the Baron. This Drake is up. And it looks like they're actually going to be able to get that as a reward. Nicely done by V5.
Yeah, stopping the Baron is a big one for them, because then this full split push and pick composition could come into its own. And off the back of it, they get that dragon as well. So nice from V5, but unfortunately, we're still seeing the same issues, that what is supposed to be this front-to-back team fight really isn't working in their favor, because RNG now have full access to the map. Look at the blue wards that are just littering that Baron area. How do you try and approach this as V5 when you have no idea where Xiaohu is positioned? And this is why he's getting these flanks here that make it so difficult for V5. Like, as you said, Aodi gets a nice belly bop to keep Xiaohu out, but you cannot keep this Akali out for much longer. And from that point forward, it's just running down V5 over and over again by RNG.
V5 ultimately in a 4v5, only losing Ppgod there, managing to get themselves a Drake, managing to stop the Baron. Even if the actual fight doesn't go their way, I think you take that trade. I think you take the objective in this situation, managing to even up in Drakes now, and once again, stopping the momentum for RNG. If we go way back to the first conversation we had about these drafts, it was that when it came to this composition from V5, in terms of the front-to-back team fight, you'd favor them. The problem is that Akali kind of changes the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you have to try and set up correctly for these front-to-back team fights. It's something that EDG last year did very well, where they'd go, oh, hang on.
Oh, Ming has gone very deep onto Weiwei there. Mole will zip out on the Realm Warp as well. So the attempt from RNG, but they don't find what they were looking for. Maybe they find an opportunity onto this Baron. Obviously, the Destiny going to be on cooldown, as with the box, but the rest of the ults available, they've got an Aphelios with that Severum, so he's able to chunk through this Baron pretty quick.
And you can already see that Xiaohu had moved way earlier than Aodi as well, so he's already in position here. This is going to be a close one.
Y4 bullet time over the entire squad, but Ming's happy to tank this one. Baron goes down. Wei secures it. Can V5 find the fight? Doesn't look like they will be able to. RNG, they get away with a bit of robbery here and snag that Baron.
Bit of a close call, though. Weiwei's Graves wasn't in a position to get over that wall and actually had the level advantage there as well. So it wasn't exactly a 50-50 smite if we were going to try and make that play as V5. However, you end up with the Baron. Now you're in full disaster mode from V5. Because although you have Mole who can deal with one split push, Xiaohu is massive. Cryin is going to be able to have way more access to the map with that Destiny over the likes of Aodi. And now you can look to make these picks consistently. Move in, get this vision control for RNG, and close out this game.
Y4's MF build is boggling my mind a little bit. This Mana Moon third item instead of an IE, going for the Kraken Slayer instead of the Gale Force. This is definitely a different take on Misfortune. I'm not going to try and belittle the build choices he's made. I'm certainly not aware of this build, but I'm able to believe that we haven't figured out the optimum AD carry builds just yet. Maybe this is the way forwards. Certainly does feel like those bullet times not quite as effective as we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I mean, if you take the Kraken Slayer and replace with Eclipse, this is pretty much the lethality build for MF, because you do get the tier in the Manamune because you're more heavily reliant on your spells. So that's why I was kind of surprised to see the Kraken Slayer come into this, and I think you should have just gone Gale Force and then go towards the regular build. This build is just a bit all over the place for me.
Aodi going to be forced away from the tower on the top side. They've got enough minions to finish the tier 2 here. And at bare minimum, you'd expect RNG to be able to take the tier 2s. What they love to do is break the base, get an inhib for themselves. They've still got a minute on the Baron buff to try and achieve that. And coincidentally, it's a minute until that next Drake comes up. That'd be Soul for either team. Or Soul Point, sorry, for either team.
Yeah, I don't think RNG are really focused on the dragon. I think you can see right now it's more about like having these members spread thin on V5 side. 3 top, you've got Weiwei's kind of playing back and forth between top and this mid side, with Cryin pushing in the bot. Like, this is so difficult for V5 to try and deal with, because although Mo's wave clear is great, you've got a little bit from Aodi, it's still not enough to really deal with Baron up creeps.
Yeah, and they're going to deal with that mid wave. Can they deal with the top at the same time is the question, as Mo's desperately holding on to the tier 2. Looks like because the minion waves are out of sync for the side of RNG, this might just be defendable. Aodi, the absolute chieftain here, just tanking up the cannon so that it doesn't get those last couple of shots onto the tower. Now back to the mid lane as they are just dancing this dance. And RNG, I don't think will find a way into the base. They've only got 5 seconds left on that Baron buff. And I think this has officially been defended by V5.
Nice job from V5 to defend this. I mean, you've got, like, as we say, Aodi can do some wave clear. Nice job from him to tank it up. However, has gone for the AP build that we were talking about. Now, I know we were discussing this earlier on. I would have preferred to see him go towards the tank build. I think that's honestly what's missing from V5 in a lot of these fights, is just the ability for Aodi to stand in the front line, force RNG back, and buy space for V5's backline. Now, RNG get the dragon. They'll be able to return back in towards these side lanes. And there's nothing really that V5 can do except try and shove these lanes out and hope that maybe, just maybe, they can find a fight at this next Baron. But honestly, I think with the how far ahead RNG are, you need to look for a pick as V5 beforehand.
Yeah, V5 in a bit of a weird spot where they're just holding on. They don't necessarily... It feels to me, at least, that this game is no longer in V5's control in any way. They are just waiting and hoping that RNG make a mistake. You have to expect, though, as soon as someone from RNG does misstep, this whole V5 squad is going to pounce. They're like a coiled viper right now. But RNG, certainly the team in a more favorable position. And now this siege begins on the bottom side of the map. 5 members strong here for RNG. V5 want to defend, though.
This is the worst tower to try and defend. It is really difficult to do so because you've got like many ways to wrap around. This is not going to be an easy one for V5, although if you're just going to group as 5 as RNG, V5 are fine to just clear all day.
You've got a Rise, you've got a Misfortune, easy wave clear. Xiaohu finally realizes that's what's going on right here and moves to the mid lane, and immediately V5 force the fight off the back of it. They can't quite finish off any of these kills, and it's Aodi that goes down instead. And the goal lead is insurmountable, it feels like, for the side of V5. No bullet time came out from Y4 there. Maybe that's the difference maker, is with Aodi down. That's the tank removed. Bullet time used on the wave to stop this siege, but they're just going to walk underneath the tower. Ppgod's about to go down. Mole turns himself golden, but it's not going to save him. And now Y4 pulled back by the Flay. Weiwei flashes out to safety, but the exhaust means another kill goes down onto the AD carry. Now they can blast their way into the base through this bottom lane. Do they have time to end the game?
They gotta wait for this mid wave. At least Xiaohu had pushed it in, but yeah, I don't know if they can end. They will certainly get both these inhibitors though. And with Baron just about up, you go back, you spend that gold. Although, yeah, as you say it, RNG, trying to see if they can do it.
They got 30 seconds here. They got 20 seconds on Mole. Maybe they could just close this one out. Weiwei is in trouble, and Wei cements himself is the better jungler. Reckless swing to the face. That's going to be the Nexus falling. And that's going to be RNG maintaining their position as the 3rd place squad in the LPL.